Was this the season that you were expecting to have heading into the year?
I'm gonna say it is the type of season that I worked for over the, however long. So yeah, I would have expected the outcome, but I think that I like, kind of put in the time and the effort to have it. So yeah, I really wanted that to be the case, but obviously you can't tell the future.
What's going on today? I'm the host, actually Schumaker, and joining me today is preseason All-West Coast Conference selection. He's also mid-season Lou Henson Award nomination and the second leading scorer in the West Coast Conference. Jalen Williams, appreciate you coming on today, my man.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me, man. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a crazy season. We got a lot to get into today, but to kick this off, though, there is one thing I know you got in your Twitter name. You also got in your bio, PSCEO. Take us through what that means.
Professional scorer, and then obviously CEO is self-explanatory. But
Mhm.
yeah, in high school, my friends, I forgot who. I think Mark Jackson referred to DeMar DeRozan as it, and I just kind of ran with it, and then me and my friends had fun with it. But yeah, it basically describes how I play.
And you are, as you just said, you are an elite scorer, as I mentioned in the intro. You're the second leading scorer in a conference that features the Gonzaga guys, features even your own teammate. It's one of the top players in program history, and the list goes on. Has scoring always been something that you just were naturally born with? Was that something that you just loved from the get-go, or did that take time to develop? Or when do you kind of get that scoring nature about you?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like I feel like it developed into something more elite, but I feel like you also kind of have to have it
Mm-hmm.
at a certain part. But I think just constantly working on it, and then as you get older, you kind of learn what you're really good at and just stick to it.
We're going to get into this season and a lot more throughout the interview, but I want people to get to know your story because you are one of the biggest rising stars of this season. You've had one of the biggest jumps, and a lot of people are starting to get to know you as well. So, to let people get to know more about your journey, we had all the way back. You're originally born out there in Colorado. Walk us through that. Like, what led from you guys being born out there, and what obviously led to you ultimately coming out to Arizona?
My parents are military, so I was in Colorado. Like I don't really remember anything. I was too young. But yeah, I basically was in Colorado, lived in LA for a little bit. Still kind of too young to really remember a lot. But then both my parents retired Air Force. My dad 24 years, my mom 12. Basically just moved to Arizona. Ended up settling down out here when they got my dad got stationed out here. He retired out here, and I've basically been in Arizona ever since.
I know your parents. I know we've grown up knowing each other for a long time now. What was that like in terms of them being your parents? Because obviously, I can imagine they're a little more strict than typical parents. They have the military background. What was it like just growing up with them?
I mean, in a nutshell, like I still fold my bed every morning. Like if that gives you like a good grasp. But yeah, they were strict, but it was nothing too not like the stereotypical like drill sergeant parents. They were cool. Let me make my mistakes growing up. So yeah, but strict. I think that's a good thing.
You're also not the only basketball player in the family, too. Your younger brother's up and coming too now, and he's starting to form his own name for himself now in 2023. But that had to be fun. Obviously, you guys have a little bit of gap there, but growing up with him, I know you guys have played a lot of times one on one. What was it like just growing up with him?
It's been cool. Like we never really butt heads. I know you and your brother are really tight as well. Yeah, so you kind of know, but we don't. We go at it like brothers should, but we also never really had that like jealous kind of thing going. So we've always been super close. And then it's just been good to watch him develop and do the exact opposite of me. Cody, he's already tall and athletic. Like I was the exact opposite. So it's cool to watch him grow up.
Growing up, I know you guys have had to play many one on one games, and I'm sure you guys still do whenever you guys get together. So, how do those games go?
I mean, obviously I beat him. I can't, especially now I can't let up on him. But yeah, it's super competitive. Every time we play, it gets closer and closer to, him beating me. So it's always good. I might have to stop playing him for a little bit.
Has he ever got a win on you yet?
No, absolutely not.
And he obviously, like you said, he has grown a bunch over the past every year. Obviously, he keeps developing more and more. But when you look at just the way he's come along, following your footsteps, what's just been like seeing that he's now coming along and kind of developing the type of player he is today?
I mean, like I said, it's just really cool to watch him like, grow up and, kind of figure out his own path. And it's cool. Now we're at that point now to where we can kind of relate to a lot of things. Obviously the gap, he hasn't figured everything out, but now, he goes to my same high school, my same coach. my same school. So, it's just cool to watch him develop and kind of go through everything that I already went through.
At this point, he is ending his junior season a little bit more towards the end of it now. Who would have been the better player? Do you think he's better than you were when you were ending your junior season, or are you better back when you were at that age?
That's a good question. I think he's honestly, I would say we were even right about now. I think he's a little more athletic than me. Actually, he's way more athletic than me now than I was back then. Yeah, I think he would probably be a little bit of a better player just based off of his athletic ability. He has it all. He's also athletic. I wasn't really all the way there yet. I was still growing.
If you could give him one piece of advice, because it's this big critical time now in terms of his final AAU season coming up, also going through the recruiting process, but what's your ultimate advice you could give him? If you could give him one thing of advice, what would it be?
Oh, I always tell him to have fun. Like, I mean, a lot of hoopers probably know that are in college, like your high school days go by so fast. And especially when you start getting recruited and, everything starts coming really fast at you. And then he's had the whole COVID year, so you don't remember anything. I just said, man, just have fun. Just enjoy what you have, because it goes by fast. Like, I'm a junior in college and it doesn't even feel like it.
And this goes a little bit into Santa Clara stuff, but he obviously has Division I offers. I know that's one of his choices he could possibly go at. How special would that be? If that obviously means you'd have to stay there too, but how special would that be if you guys got the chance to go play together in college?
I think it would be awesome. We've never played with each other aside from like pickup games, but we never know what the future holds. But I'm definitely not stuck up against it or anything. I think it would be pretty cool.
So when we talk about you and your journey, though, has basketball always been the go-to sport? Was that always from day one the sport you wanted to play, or when did the ball first get put in your hands?
Probably ever since I can remember, probably around like 3 or 4. And that's the only sport I've ever even tried to play. I never tried to play baseball or football or anything else. Like, it's just strictly been basketball.
At what point would you say started clicking? You started realizing I can be a top player. Obviously, your recruiting we'll talk about in a second wasn't as good as it probably should have been. Now we see what you've become. But when did you personally start feeling like you knew you could be a special player at the collegiate level and even high school level?
I think my sophomore year of high school going in, I played a little bit of varsity as a freshman, but I think sophomore year when I ended up starting on varsity, I thought I would be pretty good. And that's also when I got my first offer to, I want to say Hofstra. Hofstra University was the first people to offer me. Santa Clara was third. So once around that time, like my sophomore summer, I started, figuring out the game and figuring out what I was really good at. And I think that's when the light clicked on.
The unique thing too about growing up in Arizona, as I know and I've known, is that this has really been a changing of the whole culture of basketball over the past 5 or 6 years. It kind of started with the Mitch group and Marvin Bagley and Barcelo and Saban. Like, they were the ones that really started and kickstarted this whole group. But now we've got we've got Durong, we got Tahj, even going down like to Cody and True and Lan, all these different guys. Like, the past 6-7 years has really changed Arizona basketball. So know that you were really a part of one of the front end of that. What has it been like just kind of seeing the way Arizona basketball's now got a larger spotlight, and now it's also producing a lot more talent than it did historically?
Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely wild. I grew up playing against, damn near everybody that you said. So it's just wild to see the progression. And I feel like COVID kind of helped that out, because Arizona's kind of always been open. So everybody's kind of been filtering into there. And then now, all the prep teams, like you said, Ty kind of leading the blaze for that. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see.
Let's hop into that high school career for you. And you chose Perry. That's where you ended up going. What led you to that school? And why was Perry also the school you wanted to stay at for all 4 years?
Well, first off, it's close to my house. So that was a big factor. Marcus Howard went there at the time. Like you said, trailblazing basketball, another person that I think, just going to that, I thought we, match up pretty well. Obviously, he went prep. And just, the overall really good school, really good culture, historically pretty good at basketball. So yeah, I thought it was a good fit.
So your goal originally, though, was to be able to play alongside Marcus. Like you said, he goes prep, then ends up reclassing and does all that stuff, goes to Marquette, becomes one of the top scorers of all time. But was that kind of the original goal that you want to be able to play alongside him for a year?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't think he knew that. I didn't really voice that to him. But yeah, I thought it would be cool. And then it would have worked out good because if he would have stayed, I ended up playing a little bit my freshman year. So, yeah.
At the same time, that then means that you had to kind of take on a big shoes to fill because Marcus is Marcus. He was the top 100 recruit, all his story behind him. So how was that? Is knowing that, okay, he's now gone. I'm going to go in. You filled his shoes pretty good. So how did you manage to do that? And just what was it like going in a way, kind of saying, I can be the next Marcus Howard, I can be the next top scorer to come out of Perry?
I think honestly, I just accepted the challenge that there was, and like you said earlier, like I wasn't exactly like like highly touted in any way, so it wasn't really any extra pressure. It was just more I'm kind of ready to shock a
Mhm.
bunch of people, and that was just kind of my goal going into it. I felt that I had the skill set to do it, so I just kind of applied myself to that.
Your coach has had experience with a lot of top players as well. He coached that team we were just talking about with the Marvin and all that stuff at Corona. What was it like learning from him and knowing that you kind of get to learn from a coach that knows how to handle these other top players? How big was that for your high school career?
Coach Dwayne was extremely pivotal in my recruitment process and just how I developed going in. I always tell him that he really prepared me for the college level just through like, we scouted, sent each other film, watched it. And, honestly, just showing me the little nuances of the game, he was extremely vital. Obviously, he's won however many championships at the high school level. So he obviously knows how to coach talent. And I just extremely grateful that I was able to have him as a coach.
Did you guys click right away or did it take some time for you two to get on the same page?
Well, at first he actually in one of the to start before when he first came in, he had a big open gym and we all went to play. And he originally had me marked down for JV because he obviously had never seen me play. And like for anybody that doesn't know, like I was a 5'8", 100-pound soaking wet kid. So
Mhm.
he put me down to JV. I tore up the open gym, and ever since then we kind of just clicked, and he's kind of been in contact ever since.
That is also the crazy part about you because that's when I first started getting to know you. And obviously, you said you weren't the tallest guy that you are today. Now you're the definition of a big guard at 6'6", 6'7" height. But like you said, it took some time out. I think you ended up growing about 8 inches between sophomore and senior year, sophomore, junior year. So, how did that growth spurt impact you, and just how did you deal with that?
Um, it was wild, obviously you get the whole like, my knees hurt and that. So it really affected like what I was able to do, like jumping ability wise. And then I actually grew a little bit my freshman year of college too. So that's where I got like the last like inch or two. But yeah, it was just honestly just like the regular growing pains, but it opened up the floor as I grew because I had all the little guard skills and just was able to apply that when I was a little taller.
As you go through this career, we obviously I already mentioned though that you didn't have all these offers. And today, I think if people would have known you're going to be a guy that's who you are today, you would have been in the top 100, top 50, possibly even higher. I don't know exactly where you would have ranked up, but how did you handle that? Because I have to imagine you saw yourself, I think you're right outside the top 200 or whatever. How did you deal with that going through high school, kind of being a slept on, getting, I know rankings don't necessarily matter a ton, but how did you just handle that? And did that impact you at all?
I mean, you said it towards the end. Like rankings don't really matter to me. At the end of the day, we all put our shoes on the same, and that's just kind of how I went into it. I think the biggest thing was not worrying about what other people were doing and just kind of focusing on whatever my path was. And I think that's kind of helped. Just kind of put my nose down and do what I do.
When you were going through upperclassmen years, you really started to blow up. You get CUSD player of the year your junior season, then you average 25 plus your senior season. What led to that breakout for you, and what led ultimately to you going from that jump of being a pretty good player to then becoming one of the top guys in the state?
Um, you obviously know Paul. Like I
Mhm.
said, we know each other. So I think just working out over the summer with him and my dad, and just like I said, just worrying about myself. Figuring out what I need to get better at to do that. And I think I've done the exact same thing this year. I think I had a pretty pivotal summer, a normal summer this year where I was able to get in the gym consistently and work out. So I think just basically being able to work out and figuring out what I needed to do to be successful over the breaks.
When you look back at your entire high school career, what would you say was your favorite memory?
I'm gonna say we had two triple overtimes with Brophy,
Mm-hmm.
and we lost I want to say, yeah, we lost the first one on a buzzer beater at Brophy. And then to finish out me ever playing Brophy again, I ended up hitting. Nope, I had a game tying layup on the second OT, and then we ended up winning that OT. So I'll never forget that. We threw water in the locker room and everything.
When we go back to the rankings a little bit, you look at yourself today, you know what you are and how you become the player that you are. Did you think at that point that you should have been a top 100, a top 50, or top whatever it was player? Or do you think that it was you were a good player, but the past 2, 3 years have really elevated you and you've just jumped to the next level that you are at today?
Um, I'm gonna go with a little bit of both. I think that obviously, like I said, like I really didn't know where I was ranked, who ranked me. It's always gonna be whoever thinks you're better than so and so. So I didn't worry about that too much. But obviously, like if you ask me, I'm gonna say I think I'm better than everyone, and that that's how it should be for every college athlete. But I didn't really focus on that. I just focused on like the controllables and making sure that I knew what I could do to get better. And I think that's been my like biggest improvement or my biggest jump.
The prep scene wasn't as big when you were going through high school. It started flowing a little bit. I think Compass was coming into play. I know Hillcrest, I think, was in the second or third year out there, but that was a new era. Now it's become more and more popular. But did you ever consider doing that? Did you ever consider going and saying, I could play at a prep level? Obviously, you could get more attention and seen that way. Did that ever cross your mind throughout high school?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, it was kind of a new thing, so it was even, it wasn't like a sure thing either. But I thought I was in a pretty good situation with Coach Dwayne and at Perry, and I was already at that time I was already getting offers anyway. So I think whatever offers I would have had there, I would have had at prep. So
Let's go through that recruiting process because we know where you end up going at Santa Clara. Who else was heavily in the mix for you? Like if you would have had a top 2 or 3, or maybe in your second favorite school behind Santa Clara, just kind of take us through that whole recruiting process for you.
Honestly, it was between Santa Clara, UCSB, and Hofstra. I think Hofstra was really, really close to being number one. UCSB fell off a little bit towards the end, but they were in my top three, so obviously they were high on the board. But honestly, just fit. I don't think I would have. Yeah, I don't think I would have enjoyed going to Hofstra as much, just because it's far from home, and that everything that's happened now, I think it's a good thing that I am like still accessible to my home. But yeah, it was really between them. I think they both had pretty similar fits for my game personally, and then I also think that the coaching staffs on both ends are great. I think a lot of the pros for Santa Clara, maybe edged over a little bit of the cons of Hofstra.
That is the unique thing about Santa Clara. And obviously, Herb's one of the top coaches of all time. He's been incredible with what he's done historically. But he's also, like you said, he's found pros. And for mid-major, now it's becoming easier and easier. Like there's so much more talent that mid-major guys are going to make an NBA jump. But we just look at history. Obviously, it's Steve Nash, who everyone knows who that is. And there's just a long line of underrated college players that they get and he develops. So how did he ultimately win you over? When you look at Herb Sendek was coming wanting you, how did he ultimately win you over?
This is what I was gonna say with the edge over Hofstra. He was just genuine the whole entire time. Not saying that they weren't, but what I mean by that is that he was at one of like my first games AAU for sophomore year. Like, and I like vividly remember, him coming out. A lot of schools, will have like their sits and stuff out there, but like me and my teammates always talk about it. Like he was damn near at every single one of my games. Always came to visit me in high school. So I think just his persistence and how genuine he was, and upfront with me during the whole process is what kind of won me over to want to come there. And obviously, he's a great coach. So
When he was talking to you and going through that recruiting process, what did he expect from you? Did he think that you're eventually going to become a 20-point per game almost type of player? Did he think you just become a really good foundational core piece for you guys? Or what did he kind of have in plan for you throughout your career?
I don't know. I hope he wanted me to come and score, do what I'm doing now. But ultimately, I think he always used to tell me he thought I was very talented, and he said he would just love to watch me grow here in the program. And I think whatever's happening now with me is kind of what he envisioned. So
How about for yourself? If someone would have came to you and told you 3 years ago that in 3 years by your junior season, you're going to be a guy that is going to be second in the conference and scoring only behind a guy in Jude Timmy, who you were just in front of Schuh about a week ago. You're going to be an all-conference selection this year. You're up for one of the most improved players in the country. Could you have expected this to happen just 3 years later?
I'm gonna say yeah. Obviously, I wouldn't know the accomplishments, but I think just kind of getting time and like I said, understanding how the college game works. Like I think I definitely would have thought this would have happened, or at least started to figure the game out. I obviously thought I was talented enough to do what I'm doing now, so yeah, I would have expected it. I would hold myself to that standard.
We'll go a little bit deeper into Coach Sendek. You guys have now grown obviously a ton throughout the next 3 years because you have worked yourself into becoming that guy. So how have you seen your guys' relationship grown from the time they first started recruiting you to today? How much closer are you guys, and what's the relationship like between you two today?
Oh, he's awesome, man. Yeah, he's just really good to me, man. Like, I go over to his house to watch games, or just to just talk, and I honestly, I confide in him a lot. We were able to like talk through a lot of things that we may have seen during the game, or just I know that I can go to my coach whenever, and I think that's also true with my, the whole staff. But like specifically to answer your question, coach, like me and him are really close. Just being able to trust each other over the years.
When did you two click? Was that right out the gate? Was that a couple games into the season, maybe in your sophomore season when you first starting your freshman year, or when did you two click on the court?
I think earlier in the season of my freshman year, I ended up starting. I don't remember what game. I want to say the Cal game might have been my first start, maybe like 6-7 games in.
Mm-hmm.
But just up to that, obviously I think I earned my playing time during practice. But I think we kind of clicked there because I went out there and just played really hard, and he, from there I kind of think I earned a little bit of trust from him, and it's just kind of built from there.
What's your favorite memory you've created so far, Coach Sendek?
I'm gonna say our win last year against, who do we play? St. Mary's. Just with everything that happened with COVID, and I think us and Stanford were the teams that got hit with it pretty hard. Everything that led up to that game, from cancellations, and I was coming off a foot injury, so it's one of my first games back. To go up there and beat St. Mary's, that's a big win for him. Obviously, we threw water everywhere in the in the locker room after we won. That memory is always going to stick out for sure.
You walk into your freshman season at Santa Clara. You end up becoming a star, like you said. You end up starting the final 22 games of the season. Walk us through the preseason, though. Like, what was your expectation for the year, and just what did you want to accomplish heading into your freshman year?
When I was getting recruited, they were kind of upfront me, and they were like, "You have a chance to start, like obviously, or a chance to play big minutes, and but obviously you have to earn it." So going into that, I was just honestly, my whole goal was just play hard, do what I do, play within myself. Don't get out and try and do stuff that you haven't worked on, or stuff that you're not comfortable doing. So I just went out there and played extremely hard.
You had two other guards that have now become great college guards. One obviously has moved on now to his own professional round, Tahj. But walk us through just having a guy in Tahj Eaddy who's now, as we know, had a great run with USC last year, a great point guard. Also, Trey's now doing this thing out there with Notre Dame. How big were those guys for you, and just what were you able to learn from those guys throughout your freshman year?
Tahj, obviously big time guard. Extremely proud of what he's doing. Same thing with Trey. Honestly, just through my whole thing, like they were extremely accepting of everything that, like, me coming in as a freshman, and kind of guiding me through that process of the college game and how it works. Same thing with DJ Mitchell's playing professional over there, and Willie Caruso. They were all super involved with me, and just trying to help me out. Obviously, Josip and Keyshawn, but yeah, but just specifically them two, man. Like kind of being in my position, they kind of gave me that guidance on what to expect, what to know, what to look for while I was playing. So I'm extremely grateful for them.
Most freshmen have that freshman wake up moment, or sometime when you start realizing, like, okay, this is college basketball now. This is a little bit different than what I've been used to throughout my life. Did that happen for you? And if so, what was your freshman wake up moment for you?
Definitely playing Gonzaga the first time. By then, when we played them, I had been starting, and I pride myself on being in pretty good shape. But man, that first 4 minutes of that game, it just felt like just incredibly fast. Just completely change the pace of the game just throughout the thing. Obviously, they're known for running, so it was just a crazy experience.
I believe you had 5 steals. I don't know if that was the first or second matchup with them, but how have you embraced that now matchup? Because obviously it's in the sense of rivalry. I mean, everyone in that division is going for, everyone in that conference obviously is going for Gonzaga. We know that they're always number one. How have you embraced, and how much have you enjoyed now being able to go out there and compete against Gonzaga each time you get to go out there and play them?
I mean, it's fun. And obviously, it's the ultimate challenge. They're usually not even number one in our conference. They're usually number one in the nation. So it's always fun to go up against talent, and also be able to, like, prove yourself that you can play against the best. So, but it's fun. Obviously, me and my teammates accept the challenge to constantly play them, and it's fun.
Go a little bit deeper into your freshman season, because, as I said, you started the final 22 games of the season. You guys overall have a pretty decent year, 20-13. But what was that freshman year like for you in a whole?
It was fun. I got to learn a bunch about myself, and not only myself, but just the game in general, kind of knowing what to expect going into next year. Obviously, COVID happened, so that was wild. But yeah, it was just fun. It was an extremely fun learning process. Like, I had a blast, being able to play and start, and I feel like I had an experience that not a lot of, kids get to have as their freshman year.
What's the biggest lesson that you learned your freshman season?
It's definitely a marathon, not a race. Everybody does whatever they do at their own pace and at their own time. And you just honestly got to focus on yourself. You can't, I feel like the minute you start worrying about other people is when it becomes an issue.
Mm-hmm. Well, then you go into your sophomore off season, which is pretty much the whole world shut down, as we know, it's COVID. How did you take that on as a player, though? Because it obviously was not easy for anybody. Everything's pretty much locked down. I know Arizona was a little bit less than most states, but still. How was that offseason for you, and how did you get better during your COVID offseason?
Oh, well, I put on weight. I want to say going into it, I was probably 195. I left to start the season at around 210, somewhere around there, 205, like somewhere around that range. Just tried to work on all facets of my game. I sat down, I watched a ton of film over the summer, just kind of figure out, where I could take that next leap offensively and defensively, just figure out, ways that I can score and be productive on the court. And then, I was working out outside. I feel like not a lot of people were doing that, especially you and me both know Arizona is not fun to work out outside. So yeah, I just tried to, try to get it where you could. Obviously everything was closed. So
For those that do not know, your guy's situation with COVID was probably one of the worst outside of maybe like a Hawaii situation with what they had to go through. But you guys were flip-flopping where you guys were living throughout the course of the year. You guys were going out to the G League team, I believe Santa Cruz or something like that, to live out there for about a month span. Walk us through the situation you guys were put in throughout your sophomore season, going through COVID. How did you guys handle that? Just what was that like?
it was crazy. It also, brought a bond between me and that group of guys that I don't think a lot of people will be able to say that they have with the team. It was difficult. Obviously, we were living out of a hotel for a majority of the season, and to top it off, like I was hurt in and out with my Achilles throughout, a good amount of the season as well. It was hard, like you said, we were working out in Santa Cruz and we were getting like an hour of gym time. So if you had an off night the game before, you really couldn't shoot because we played the next day. So it was hard to get into a rhythm. Overall, I think it made us better. I think that's why we're able to take the jump that we have this year, because we basically have the same team minus a couple guys. But I think, yeah, I definitely think that helped us out. But it was crazy. It was really wild. I think only me and or Santa Clara and Stanford really can share that experience.
When you look at your season as a team, like you guys only went 12-8, but who knows how good you guys could have been as a whole because of all the situations you guys were put in. Could you guys have been as successful as you guys are this year, last year, or was just the improvement? Obviously, you improved a lot in the past year too, but could you guys have been a much more better team had this all the situation has been put in, or was it just the past year really developed you guys?
I think talent wise, yeah, I think we could have done a lot better in 12-8. Like obviously, I think we had a really good start to the season, and then everything kind of hit. We had a talented group last year, but I also think it has to do with this year as well. Like I think a lot of that carried over. Me, Keyshawn, Josip, G, Miguel, like, the guys returning from last year were able to take that experience and use it this summer. So this summer was the first time that I've had like a true summer after my freshman year. So we all were able to really gel with each other and, figure out, be able to integrate like PJ Pipes, Parker, who's new, integrate the freshmen in and, actually gel as a team and get like a real summer workout in and all that other stuff. So I think that kind of boosted what we're doing now.
I want you also to go a little bit deeper into Josip because obviously when he leaves after the season, after a super senior year, he's going to go down as one of the best players in program history, going to be top of pretty much every stat category. And what's unique about that now is that you two have become a dynamic duo. He obviously was a junior, I believe, or sophomore heading into your freshman season. Now you two have grown together and become one of the best dynamic duos, not just in the West Coast Conference, but the entire country. So what's it just been like growing that bond over the past 3 years with Josip, and how close are you guys today?
Oh man, that's my brother for sure. I don't think I could put into words how close we've gotten over the past, especially last year, being on top of each other, throughout the whole COVID process, seeing each other every day. So like kind of forced to be cool with each other. But man, it's just been cool to learn from him and, see how he sees the game and be able to kind of integrate how I play into how he plays and vice versa and play off each other. So it's been extremely, extremely fun. I'm happy that I've gotten the opportunity to play with him.
Obviously, God's going to determine how many years he's going to be staying at Santa Clara. But when he came on this summer, he said that he obviously has his goals and he thinks he's pretty set. He's going to get the scoring and all that type of records and all that. But he said he'll give you, of course, assist record. You probably already beat him on that one. Do you think you have a shot at getting to the scoring record? Could you beat him out at scoring, rebounding, possibly steals? How many records do you think you could possibly break up Josip's? Obviously, depending on how many years you stay at Santa Clara.
I don't know. I honestly don't even know where I stand with a lot of it. So I'll get back to you on that question. I got to see where my numbers are looking. Last year kind of held me back a little bit, only playing half the season. But, I'll get back to you on that. Scoring might be a problem if I stay longer, and however long he stayed.
When you guys have grown, obviously, over the past 3 years, how have you guys grown that court, though? Because obviously, off the court, you guys have become closer, but you guys have really formed, obviously, even just like last night we watched, you guys were going down to overtime. You only had 8 points in the game, but Josip goes out for 24, but you guys just flow each time. You guys are sacrificed. He might go for 20, you might go for 30. The other one goes for 8 or 10. How have you guys learned to be so kind of sacrificed for each other just to really make sure the team wins each night?
I think I like keep going to this summer just because I think we've honestly this summer, like we all got to kind of figure out like how we will actually play with each other and figure out what each other likes to do and not be rushed doing it. So like I said, like playing with him is really easy. He has a super high IQ. And then you top that on with guys like Keyshawn and PJ who can also score the ball. It just makes, our whole offense a lot better. So it's easy to kind of read what we're doing. And I honestly think it's really hard to stop our five guys, whoever that is on the court, because I feel like we all can go. So just makes everybody more of a threat.
Well, let's go deep into the summer then, because obviously you keep mentioning it was a special summer for you guys. So I've heard countless different stories of guys, because of there not being protocols for the most part, at least, guys were enjoying the summer because last year everyone was gone. So what was your guys' story? Did you guys just stay on campus together for most of the summer? Did you guys come back, go home a little bit, and then come back? Like, what was this summer for you guys?
So after the tournament, we finally were able to go home. So that whole entire year we didn't go home. So Thanksgiving, Christmas, we spent it all together, which is why I said we had that tight bond. So after that, we went home right after the tournament in I want to say late March. And then we went home for a couple weeks and then came back and we were on campus that whole time. Maybe went home for a weekend or two, a week just to, be able to go home. But other than that, we were all with each other. So I think that's kind of where it all started.
What do you guys' days look like in the summer? Obviously, I can imagine you guys were in the gym a lot working out, but time schedule, what the typical day look like for you guys during a summer day?
Usually wake up, have a summer school. Some guys might have it later, depending on, their year and how that works. But usually school, we'd have set, you only get a certain amount of time. So we'd have an hour workout with the coaches. And then after that, it was just a free day, basically. It's it's not much you can do. So we'd probably have an open run and then go eat or go to the mall, go to the beach. But yeah, that was really it. Other than that, it was probably in the gym or doing schoolwork or just kind of vibing with each other.
You personally, we know that you're a 20 point per game almost type of guy now. You're having a breakout season. Was this the season that you were expecting? Did you know that heading to the season, you're going to take on this role? You're going to be the team's go-to scorer. You're going to be one of the top scorers in the country. Was that the type of season you're expecting to have heading into the year?
I'm going to say it is the type of season that I worked for over the, however long. So yeah, I would have expected the outcome, but I think that I kind of put in the time and the effort to have it. So yeah, I really wanted that to be the case, but obviously you can't tell the future.
Obviously, it's not just, even though some guys might be talented at scoring, the coaching has to have a playbook for you. They have to get you plays for that. So I have to imagine at some point, coach sat you down and said, okay, we want you to score now. We want you to be our go-to, or at least split it with Josip and obviously the rest of the team. But when did that conversation happen? And what exactly was Coach Sandek's game plan for you? What did he want you to do this season?
Well, first I reached out to him over the summer and just asked him what, obviously what he would like me to improve on going into that, so I don't go into workouts blindly. And after that, he just kind of said that he wants to kind of, this is, by the way, the time that we didn't know if Josip was coming back yet. So, yeah, he was just like, you're probably going to have to take on different roles than what you were doing before. And we're going to kind of have to kind of flow through you. And yeah, so I just kind of took that on the chin, and then they, asked me about plays and how this works and how this looks with certain people. And Josip ends up coming back. So it just worked out even better.
When he did announce that, how excited did that make you, and how much more excited did it ultimately make you guys as a team heading into the year, knowing that you guys now have another top player in the conference and in the country?
I was super excited. I was hoping that we would have the season like we're having now. playing really well together. Obviously, you can't turn down an all conference player and, kind of Santa Clara legend and Josip.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just super excited. And then obviously we get guys like Keyshawn. Keyshawn came back, another big time player for us, and PJ's coming in and all the new pieces that kind of formulated around Yo. So I think it worked perfectly. And then you fit everybody else in, and it was just hit the floor running.
As a team, did you guys expect to be this good? You mentioned you guys had the great summer and all that, but to say that you guys are a team as of right now, if the tournament was to start today, you guys would most likely be in there. I don't know exactly seeding wise, but I'm sure it would be a top 8, top 7 type seeding. Were you guys expecting that you guys would be in this position come late January?
Yeah, I think we all kind of knew and kind of held ourselves to that standard over when we were working out and playing. And I think we just understand that we're an extremely talented group, and I feel like we can all play with whoever in the country. So yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. I think we kind of expected that.
What's your favorite game of the season so far?
Um, um, I'm gonna say the Stanford game. That was a really fun game. That was the one that all my family came to. So my sister, not my sister, my fault. My parents and Cody all were able to come out, and we had probably the biggest crowd of the year. Obviously before the protocols again, but yeah, that was a very high energy game. That was Cody's first visit, one of Cody's first visits too. So it was just a good atmosphere to be in.
I know we mentioned obviously the potential of him coming out. I think you'd have to take a super senior year or whatever to do that, but just having him there, I'm sure you kind of helped along with that visit as well. What was that like just to have him there and be the guide for him and just be the overall kind of role model in a basketball sense throughout that visit?
Oh, it was fun. Like you said, I hosted him, so it was just a really cool opportunity to be able to like show him like what I do on a daily basis. Obviously going from super close to not seeing each other a lot, it was just really cool to be able to like show him around and like obviously you see my room, so it's just, it's just cool to like kind of go around and just show him like this is what college looks like, this is what I do when I leave, kind of thing. So it was cool, and then just to see that he's going to be in this position sooner or later is just awesome.
Whatever college does end up landing Cody, what are they going to be getting in him?
Super versatile, 6'8", scorer, playmaker. I think he's gonna shine wherever he goes. So I'm excited to see what he does.
You guys do have a little bit less to believe of the season remaining, second half, but overall, it's going to be a big push. Like I said, today you guys would probably be in the tournament if the seeding was done. Obviously, that's going to result in you having to still continue to win games and play at a high level. So what do you guys want to get done the rest of the season? Before tournament, is there a certain statement you guys want to make? Is there certain things you guys want to accomplish? What is the best ending that you guys want to have in conference play?
I think a lot of it's going to come down to winning close games. I think people are starting to see the WCC like there are actually no nights off, like there are no weak teams. I think it's starting to, compete really well with the Pac-12. So I think, just winning. I think every game's going to come down to being close. Like last night, we played San Diego in OT. You never know who's going to win in our conference. There's been upsets throughout ours. So I think just being able to play every game the exact same and same type of energy that we did and have been playing with, I think that's going to be the key for us moving forward.
You mentioned how you guys are catching up to the Pac-12, and that is very true. You guys are, the Mountain West is. A lot of people are catching up to the Pac-12, but so many recruits out there. Obviously, the guys that are having a lot of offers from a mixture of West Coast, Mountain West, and also Pac-12 schools, they'll say, okay, well, they're in the West Coast Conference, it's not as good, or whatever the excuse might be. And they take the big name school, and sometimes it works out. Obviously, it's worked out countless times, but a lot of times the best fit is going to one of those schools and thriving like you've done. So what's your advice to a recruit? If there is a recruit going through a process, how important is it to be open to going to a Mountain West or West Coast conference, or at least just finding the best fit for them?
I think that comes with being honest with yourself and your game and understanding that, it's more about fit than it is, status.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of people kind of get tripped up. And I'm not going to say don't go to a big school. Like if you have the opportunity to go, you got to go. I mean, and that's what you think where you would fit in. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But just like for me personally, it wasn't about which school is the biggest or, who has the most gear. It was just about where do I fit? Where do I have the opportunity to play? And I mean, it worked out well for me. Like my freshman year, I was averaging almost 30 minutes a game. And it's like, I could have went to a bigger school and maybe not have played. Who knows,
Let's say there were a lot of big time schools. Let's say you were happening to be in the top 100 or whatever, and you had UCLA having wanting you, USC, whatever it might be for you. Do you think at that point you would have been able to say, Santa Clara is still the best fit for me, I want to go here, as opposed to going to USC or UCLA if they weren't the right fit for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think I would have went to Santa Clara regardless of who recruited me.
Absolutely. Well, obviously, you guys do have a lot more games remaining this season. Is there one game you have circled on your calendar? And if so, why is that the game you want to play?
The next one, because that's the most important coming up. Yeah, honestly, like I said, our conference is so good, especially past 2 years that I've been playing in it. So it's just, I don't want to get too high or low on any game. So, but BYU is going to be another big game. They're usually making the tournament anyway. So it's just fitting that they're going to be the next game.
You have gone against countless great players. Obviously, BYU has another Arizona guy in Alex Barcelo we've already brought up. Gonzaga has their whole slew of guys you've gone up against the past couple of years, but each other team has great talent too. So, who for you has been your favorite matchup in the West Coast Conference?
I think it's been a kind of like kind of all over the place. I've matched up with Jordan Ford my freshman year from St. Mary's. Who else? Colby Ross, Kessler Edwards, who both went this past year. Spencer Hawes at BYU. You have Eli Scott in our conference. So we just have like, a really good, slew of players, obviously, within our conference. So it's been fun just to go up against whoever.
How about personal goals for yourself the remainder of the season? Is there anything that you want to continue doing? Is there anything that you want to send as a statement? Is there anything that you want to win award-wise for yourself? What's the best ending of the season for Jalen Williams?
I think honestly, apart from accolades, obviously nobody plays for him, but I think just continue what I was doing, continue to do what I've been doing, and just going out there and controlling what I can control. But as well, I think ultimate goal is to make the tournament. You know what I'm saying? Just be able to go back and bring some life back into the campus. I think that would be awesome.
And in terms of after the season, then obviously there's going to be decisions for you as well in that sense because you have had an incredible season. If you keep it up, obviously the tension from potentially playing at professional level in the NBA is going to be there more and more for yourself. When you look at that, everyone knows that's obviously the end goal for anybody. And whenever the time is right, that's the goal that you want to have. So how do you weigh them and what exactly would you want to improve on? Or are there certain things that you want to get better at before you feel like, okay, I know I'm ready to make that jump?
I don't know. I think that's something that I'll probably have to assess at the end of the season, closer to it. Obviously, like you said, it's not. I still have to continue to play well, but honestly, I think just kind of work on my body. I'm not saying that it's bad or anything, but probably put on more weight and kind of get into that next step, body wise. But I think skill wise, I think I'm there. I think just continue to do what I'm doing now.
And at the same time, too, that can be pressure. Obviously, you kind of already answered that in a sense of you have to stay focused on the season. But when you see the mock drafts continue to come in and have your name there and people start talking about that and asking about that, how do you plan to be able to stay locked in on your craft, on your season, even though you're going to have all this other attention from outside stuff regarding NBA or pro or other things as well?
Um, that's like hard to say. Obviously, like you said, it's kind of like thrown in my face. Like I'm gonna see it. I have social media. Like I'm gonna be a part of it. Um, I don't get too high or low in the moment. Obviously, it's cool to that's every person's dream going to college, see your name on a mock draft, or But obviously, got to remember what got you here at the same time. So I kind of move it all aside, enjoy it for that little second that I see, and then just be done with it.
Absolutely. Well, something I was like wrapping up discussing with guys is building a legacy because I think everyone wants to be remembered for something. So when this career does come to a close for yourself at Santa Clara, what do you want to be remembered for what you achieved both on the court as well as off of it?
I think especially here at Santa Clara, just just be remembered as a good person. I don't want to fit the stereotype of the athlete that doesn't talk to anybody or blah blah blah. But just overall being a good person. Just being a genuinely good person, and then on the basketball court, whatever accolades come with that, obviously. But I more like to be remembered just as somebody that was like influential off the court at Santa Clara.
Also, being a believer, I want to get into that a little bit for you too. So, how would you say God has helped get you to the point that you're at today?
I put God first in everything that I do. So, you kind of hit it on the head. Like he's the reason that I'm able to do what I'm doing, and I keep that with me wherever I'm going.
For a lot of people, you kind of are born into them. I know your family's kind of background in that faith too. So that's kind of what you're born into. But when would you say you had that personal relationship with him and kind of had that one-on-one bond with God?
I want to say around like 15 or 16 when I was like really able to like, I feel like that's kind of like, the high school age where you're kind of figuring everything out. So I think around 15 or 16, like I really started to kind of, really focus on it. And that's also ironically when the time, kind of hit that I started to play really well. So I think those kind of went hand in hand.
Has there been a certain moment that you could pinpoint and say, that's the moment I really had to rely on God the most in my career so far?
Last year easily. A lot happened last year with so I had never been injured like in kind of like any way that would prohibit me to or make me miss games. So you kind of topple that on with living in a hotel for however long, not seeing your family for Christmas and Thanksgiving like you do every other year. Kind of getting your communication cut off with everybody else just because you're so isolated. And then on top of that, like I said, I was hurt for around like a month and a half, 2 months. It just didn't seem like that because our games were getting canceled.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that was just one time that I really kind of had to like, rely on God to do what I was doing and, just make sure I was kind of going the right way still. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was definitely a big time for me.
You also have faith in terms of in your bios. You talk about it, you're vocal about it. So what's led you to be vocal about that? Because obviously there's a lot of believers that might not put something in their bio, might not put something in the stories or post about it or talk about it out loud. But what's led you to be more vocal about it and be open about discussing your faith and also want to spread his light?
I think it's not a bad thing if you don't have it in your bio or yell it out. But I think just me personally, I think I have a pretty good platform enough to be able to proclaim at least what it's done for me, and that may shift somebody to maybe try and fill themselves in my shoes and figure it out for themselves. But I feel like just ultimately, I kind of have a responsibility to at least put it out there. Obviously, not force it on anybody, but just for me personally, I like to put it out there just to in case that invites somebody else in.
Amen, man. Well, my final thing for you: give Santa Clara fans your 3 biggest goals that you have set for the remainder of your career.
Go to the tournament, easily number 1. Win as many games as possible. And I'm gonna say go to the tournament again, get to the dance, and win it. That would be my goals coming up.
Absolutely, man. Well, Jalen, I appreciate you coming on today. Best luck the remainder of the season. I'm excited to see what God got next for you, and keeping the light, man.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, you're welcome on, man. God bless.
God bless, man.